Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. We take the source material, the research, the philosophy, the science, and really pull out the critical knowledge you need.
And today, we're tackling something, well, fundamental.
Yeah, exceptionally ambitious, actually. We're looking at a single, ancient, and frankly deeply urgent command, IKRA.
Which just means read. Simple word, profound implications.
Exactly. And what's so incredible, what makes this so central to our discussion today, is that in the source scripture, this was it. The very first instruction.
Before anything else. No long introductions, no list of rules first, just IKRA.
Right. Before major moral laws, before worship details, just this immediate demanding call. Read.
It wasn't, a gentle suggestion, like maybe read a bit more. It felt more like an imperative for survival almost.
That's the angle. So our mission today is to kind of fuse this ancient command with modern science. We're talking psychiatry, cognitive neurology, to really unpack why. Why is reading, why is knowledge so absolutely central to, well, everything? Our cognition, our psychology, even our spiritual path.
And we've got this amazing blend of, ancient wisdom that seems to be confirming some really cutting-edge science about brain health, about longevity.
So the core takeaway right at the start, reading, understanding, thinking critically, these aren't just hobbies.
No, they're framed as the absolute highest activities of the human brain, unique to us.
Unique to humans. And the science now, it backs this up. It shows reading literally protects your brain, biologically. Okay, so let's lay the groundwork. This concept, the sources call akol, how should we understand that? Intellect, reason.
It's all of those, but maybe something more. It's presented as this priceless foundational gift. It's the main way you comprehend yourself, your surroundings, even the creator, according to the sources.
So it's not just IQ points.
Definitely not. It's the defining thing that makes humans Acerfai Malakat, the most noble of creation. It sets us apart. It's the basis for responsibility, both spiritually and, in the world.
Without akol, you can't really process the divine message.
Right.
Or even just manage your life properly.
Precisely. That nobility, that distinction.
Yeah.
It's tied directly to this capacity for reason and moral choice.
Does the source material get into why it's considered the most noble feature? Is it our creativity, our moral compass?
It touches on both, but the emphasis seems to be on self-reflection and the capacity for conscious moral decision-making. And to really underline how crucial it is.
Yeah.
Some traditions actually argue akul was the very first thing created. Before matter, before energy. It sets the whole framework.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just a tool we have. It's like the operating system for reality itself almost.
You could see it that way. It's the prerequisite for engaging with anything meaningful. And you see this reflected in the texts.
How so?
Divine messages are only addressed to those with akul. If you don't have that capacity to reason, to reflect, the message isn't really for you in a functional sense.
Makes sense. The communication requires a receiver capable of understanding.
Exactly. And this is probably why the scripture uses the verb form of akal so often, 49 times, I believe.
So it's not just about having reason.
No, it's about using it actively. You've got this incredible power, but the real point is to put it to work.
Possession isn't enough. You have to deploy it. I remember Alexis Carrel called akol the most magnificent power on earth. High praise.
It is. But even the most magnificent power needs fuel, right? Needs direction.
Ah, okay. So akol alone isn't the whole picture.
Not quite. The sources give this really chilling warning. Bilges is akıl sadisiz dir. Intellect without knowledge is helpless, powerless.
So akol is the engine.
But knowledge is the fuel and the map, and maybe the driver's manual too. Think about it, a really smart person, super intelligent, but acting on bad information or, with no moral compass.
Yeah, they can do enormous damage.
Exactly. Their intellect becomes, destructive. Knowledge provides the context, the guidance, the correct data for reason to function properly, constructively.
And if we neglect this, if we don't use our akol or don't feed it with knowledge, what are the consequences?
They're huge, both for the individual and for society. If people or whole societies just don't engage their intellect, they become incredibly vulnerable.
How so? Vulnerable to what?
They stop benefiting from their own potential. They basically become liabilities. They can fall under the influence, even the control of other groups of societies that are using their intellect, strategizing, innovating.
So they go from potentially leading, or at least benefiting, to being led, Or even exploited.
That's the sociological risk, yeah, a direct outcome of intellectual laziness or neglect. But the individual consequence the sources mention is even harsher.
Okay.
There's a verse, Yunus 100, that says, and this is direct, he makes filthy those who do not use their intellect.
Filthy. That's strong language. It suggests more than just inefficiency. It's like a moral decay.
It's a very serious warning against just letting this gift sit idle. So to protect it, the sources say you need two things, two paths working together.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's the material or biological protection. Basically protect the hardware.
Right. Don't damage the brain itself.
Exactly. Avoid substances that harm it. Alcohol, intoxicants, anything that clouds thinking. They're forbidden specifically because they mess with the intellect's function. They shut down the core system.
Makes sense. Protect the physical tool.
Yeah.
And the second path.
That leads us right back to IKRA. It's the information and reflection protection.
Feeding the mind.
Yes. Supporting it with divine revelation vahi and with correct knowledge. You can't leave the mind empty, and you definitely can't fill it with junk data, with falsehoods or harmful ideas.
So keep the engine clean and load the right software, the secure, high-quality operating system.
That's a great analogy. That's what ensures ethical, rational output.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. We pivot from this ancient command, this idea of akul, straight into modern neurobiology.
The urgency of read suddenly finds this very concrete scientific basis in how our brains actually work or fail to work.
Let's start with the tough biological reality. The reason why using our brains isn't just good, it's necessary.
It begins with something pretty shocking, neural loss, starting surprisingly early, around age 20.
20, not like 60 or 70.
No, 20. You start losing about 50,000 nerve cells, neurons, every single day.
50,000 daily.
Daily. And here's the kicker. Unlike your skin cells or blood cells, these neurons, they're gone for good. They don't regenerate. The brain is the one part of the body with non-renewable cells, essentially.
That puts a whole different spin on things.
Yeah.
50,000 irreplaceable cells disappearing every day from our prime.
And it gets worse.
Yeah.
That loss speeds up as you age. After 60, it could be up to 100,000 cells a day.
Wow.
This steady erosion, especially if you don't stimulate your brain, or if there's trauma or poor health, it leads towards what we clinically call bunama, dementia.
So the unengaged brain is literally physically declining from early adulthood.
Actively, yes. Which brings us back to reading. How does reading act like this miracle defense? If the cells are dying anyway, what's reading doing?
Is it just keeping the lights on? Keeping it busy?
It's much more active than just busy. It taps into a core neurophysiological principle. Use it or lose it.
Okay.
When you read something complex, your brain has to do some serious heavy lifting. It's engaging in high-level parallel processing.
Parallel processing. You mean multiple brain areas firing at once?
Exactly. You're decoding visual symbols in the occipital cortex, understanding language over the temporal lobe, specifically Wernicke's area. You're pulling memories, you're integrating abstract concepts in the frontal cortex.
It's a whole brain workout.
A major workout. And this intense coordinated activity does several things. It massively increases blood flow to the brain, boosts electrical activity, specifically those high-frequency beta waves linked to focus, and ramps up metabolism.
Okay, but how does that physically protect cells? More blood flow means more oxygen, more fuel.
Oxygen and glucose are vital, yes. But the sustained activity does something else. It stimulates dendritic branching. Neurons grow more connections.
Ah, so they network better.
They network better and stronger. The more you force a pathway to work, like through reading complex text, the more robust those connections become. You're building what scientists call cognitive reserve.
Cognitive reserve, like a backup system.
Sort of. Neurons that don't connect or aren't used much, they get pruned, eliminated. But a brain that's constantly used, challenged, develops this dense network of pathways. So even if some cells die off, there are many other routes for signals to travel. It's much more resilient.
Use it or lose it, literally building a stronger structure. Do we have specific data showing this helps later in life?
Oh, absolutely. The evidence is really compelling. Study after study shows that people with higher levels of education, who presumably engage in more cognitive activity like reading, they significantly delay the onset of neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's. The numbers are pretty stark.
Give us an example.
Okay, take someone age 75. If they have low education levels, their risk of developing dementia is double that of someone with at least 8 years of formal education.
Double the risk, just based on that foundation of learning and presumably reading. That's huge.
It's a massive difference in quality of life, directly linked to cognitive engagement earlier on. And researchers can actually see this happening.
How? With brain scans?
Yeah, using things like PT scans or techniques involving radioactive xenon gas. They can track blood flow while someone is reading.
And what do they see?
They see clear, measurable increases in blood flow, particularly in the occipital cortex for vision, and crucially, in the temporal cortex areas that handle language comprehension. Reading physically exercises and reinforces these structures.
So the conclusion from all this, blending the old wisdom and the new science, is kind of unavoidable.
It is. Knowledge and the act of acquiring it through reading isn't just nice to have. It's a powerful weapon against cognitive decline. The divine command read is also, in effect, a prescription for lifelong brain health.
And the warning is, if you ignore it, you risk the tragedy of dementia.
You risk reaching a point where, even if you finally want to understand, want to learn the biological machinery itself, your ocul's physical home is too damaged. You literally might not be able to comprehend the words anymore. #tag54. Reading is dialogue and the structure of intellect.
Okay, so we've got the neurological imperative down. Reading keeps the brain healthy, but let's elevate this. Reading isn't just brain exercise, is it?
No, the source is presented as something much deeper, a spiritual, philosophical engagement, a dialogue, really,
A dialogue with whom?
a constant three-way dialogue between humanity and the creator happening through three interconnected books.
3 books. Okay, interesting. What are they?
This concept aims for tefekkür, deep reflection, by reading these simultaneously. First, there's the Kitab, the Quran.
The scripture itself, the direct divine message.
Right. Framed as the life user manual, the secure operating system we talked about, addressed personally to everyone capable of using their occult.
Okay, book 1, the scripture. What's book 2?
The Teviat, nature, the cosmos.
So reading the natural world.
Actively reading it, looking at the stars, the galaxies, the way our bodies work, the patterns in weather, and seeing the measure, the plan, the incredible occult behind it all.
It's about seeing the intelligence in creation. You have to grapple with the scale, don't you? Thinking about something like the Andromeda Galaxy, what, 3 million light years away?
Exactly. Reading the cosmos isn't just stargazing. It's studying the physics, the structure, the sheer scale, and reflecting on where that intricate design comes from. It's humbling.
Okay, scripture and nature. What's the third book?
The head escolar, events, life itself.
Daily life. How is that a book?
By interpreting everyday happenings, personal struggles, successes, global events, your own condition is ongoing, specific messages, tailored just for you.
That's challenging, seeing personal messages in everything.
It requires constant reflection. But the idea is, by learning to read these 3 books together, scripture, nature, and experience, and processing them through your akil, you achieve real intellectual and spiritual growth. Continuous dialogue.
But to handle that kind of complex input, a call itself needs to be more than just raw intelligence. The sources actually break it down, right, into different functions.
Yes, this is crucial. It's not just one thing. They use several terms. We can start with Rusht.
Rusht, what's that?
They define it as the sorgaleji shakal, the interrogative intellect.
The questioning mind. I like that.
It's the power of good judgment, mahakeme. The ability to analyze facts, problems, and reach logical, sound conclusions. It doesn't just accept things, it probes.
And the example given is Prophet Abraham, isn't it?
Yes, his process is held up as the ideal. He didn't just accept the common beliefs. He questioned the stars, the moon, the sun.
Right. He reasoned that anything that rises and sets, anything changeable, couldn't be the ultimate creator.
Exactly. That's Rusht in action, cutting through illusion to find truth. It's contrasted sharply with Taqlid,
Taqlid.
blind imitation, just accepting what you're told without questioning. The sources argue that a failure of Rusht is what lets things like rigid ideologies, cults, blind partisanship take root.
Because people stop questioning the basic assumptions.
They choose the comfort of not thinking over the hard work of Rusht. And that makes them vulnerable, linking back to what we said about exploitation.
Okay, so Rusht is the critical questioning aspect. What's next?
Next is Nuha. This is linked to Zeka, or intelligence, but its main job is vigilance.
Vigilance against what?
It's the power to restrain negative influences, both external pressures, social conformity, bad ideas, and internal ones, like destructive desires, the nefs.
So Nuha is like the mind's structural integrity. It's self-control.
You could say that. It creates a steel-like personality, solid as a stake driven into the earth. It gives you resilience against, social pressures or spiritual doubts or temptations. It's character strength built on knowledge.
Got it. Questioning mind, Rusht, vigilant mind, Nuha. What else?
Then there's Hilm. This one's fascinating. It blends cognitive skill with emotional capacity.
Hilm. That's usually translated as forbearance, clemency.
Yes, patience, tolerance, gentleness, and crucially, merhamet, mercy. Psychologically, it's vital. It creates a safe space, like a womb, Brahim, where people feel protected enough to learn and grow without fear of harsh judgment.
So it's about creating the right environment for understanding, both for yourself and others.
Exactly. But Hilm also has a powerful cognitive function described in the sources.
Oh, what's
It's
that?
called the diamond tip drill.
Okay.
It's the ability to gently penetrate really difficult, complex, rock-like subjects,
Yeah.
intricate problems, deep-seated conflicts, abstract ideas. Hilm allows you to break them down patiently, analyze them without force, and make them understandable.
Ah, I see. If you attack a hard problem with impatience or aggression, you just bounce off. Helm gives you the patience and gentleness to actually get inside it.
Precisely. It lets you pause, re-examine, absorb complexity without getting frustrated or defensive. And these three, Rusht, Nuha, Hilm, they need to work together.
How so?
Well, the texts give a specific example,
Yeah.
controlling really powerful desires, like the sexual instinct.
Okay. What's needed there?
Reason, Rusht, and patience, Hilm, often aren't enough on their own against such strong drives. They need to combine with Gerchek Amun, true faith.
Faith comes into it too.
Yes. This combination forms what's called an irade kimyasa, a chemistry of willpower. It's a reaction involving intellect, character strength, and faith to achieve real self-mastery. Hashtag, tag, tag, HEV, reading, knowledge, and the hierarchy of human needs.
So knowledge isn't just abstract, it's fundamental to how we function, mentally and emotionally. The sources seem to connect it directly to our basic human needs.
They do. They argue that knowledge is essential for our psychosomatic integrity, our mind-body wholeness. And this integrity is maintained when our fundamental needs are met, in a kind of hierarchy.
This sounds a bit like Maslow's hierarchy, but maybe with a specific philosophical or spiritual overlay.
That's a good comparison. It starts, of course, at the bottom. Physiological needs, physiologique et asler.
The basics: food, water, air, shelter.
Yep. Non-negotiable survival stuff. Can't think about much else if those aren't met.
Makes sense. What's level 2?
Safety needs emniet estiacha. The need for a stable, predictable world. Rules, order, freedom from fear, chaos, threat,
Security.
security. And the sources explicitly include the need to trust in a divine protector as part of this fundamental safety need. When you feel fundamentally unsafe, higher thoughts kind of shut down.
We see that in crises. People just focus on immediate safety. Okay, after safety.
Esteem needs, deir vesaika etiacha. This is the drive for competence, strength, achievement, getting recognition, feeling self-worth.
Feeling capable and respected.
Right. And the sources validate this need, pointing out that the Creator designated humanity as the most noble, giving us inherent value that needs acknowledging.
Okay, physiology, safety, esteem. Now we get to the core of our topic, I assume.
Exactly. Level 4. The knowing and understanding need, bilme ve anlama atiacha,
The need to know.
presented as a primary intrinsic drive is that relentless curiosity you see in children. We are fundamentally wired to seek information, to understand how things work.
So it's not just a nice to have, it's a basic need on this hierarchy. What happens if it's blocked? If people aren't learning or understanding?
The sources argue it leads to serious mental trouble, pathology even, chronic boredom, deep depression, feelings of emptiness, self-loathing. The mind stagnates.
Wow. So preventing someone from learning or choosing not to learn is actually psychologically damaging, according to this model.
Very much so. It's presented as a vital psychological nutrient. Deprive the mind of knowledge and meaning, and it starts to turn inwards, become disordered.
Okay. So the need to know sits right below self-esteem. What's at the top? The peak.
Self-actualization can dirme, reaching your fullest potential. And this pinnacle explicitly includes two key things.
Which are?
The need for faith belief,
Yeah.
the deep human need for meaning and connection to something larger, and the need for love.
Belief and love.
Yes. And crucially, the sources argue that the belief need can only be satisfied correctly through knowledge derived from the divine source. That's what guides you beyond just surviving or achieving, toward ultimate purpose.
This whole hierarchy, how does it relate to stress? Modern life is full of it.
Great question. The sources link unmet needs any of these needs, including the need for knowledge and understanding, directly to stress.
So lack of knowledge can literally cause stress.
Yes. Stress is defined as the body and mind's response to perceived threats to your integrity, your health, your wholeness. When you lack understanding, when things feel chaotic or meaningless, especially during hardship,
Yeah.
your internal alarm bells just keep ringing. Knowledge, particularly the kind that provides context, meaning, and a logical framework from the divine perspective, helps manage that stress. It provides explanations, it reframes difficulty, it calms the system.
Okay, if knowledge is this crucial for our brains, our psyche, our stress levels, then neglecting it, ignoring that command, IKRA, must have some serious consequences.
And the sources paint a pretty bleak picture of what happens when that neglect becomes widespread, especially in societies that historically valued this very command.
Let's look at the data presented, the reading habits.
Yeah, the statistics are, well, stark, particularly comparing the region often discussed, Turkey, with others. In Turkey, the sources cite figures like 7 books read per 1,000 people per year.
7 per thousand, that's incredibly low. How does that compare elsewhere?
Well, compared to the U.S., where estimates are around 1.2 books per person, or Germany at 2.7 per person annually, the difference in sheer volume points to a deep cultural issue around reading and learning.
And this shows up in priorities too, right?
Absolutely. The book is ranked way down the list of necessities, 222nd in Turkey versus maybe 18th in the West.
Can you see it in the infrastructure?
Like libraries. Yeah, only one library for every 65,000 people. But contrast that with coffee houses historically. Curthane, which are reading houses now, there's one for every 95 people.
So the place for contemplation got replaced by the place for, well, coffee and chat.
Or consumption and distraction, yeah. The space changed. And this intellectual diet, or lack thereof, inevitably impacts scientific output.
How badly?
The gap is huge. Turkey producing maybe 300, 400 studies a year versus Japan with over 23,000, or the U.S. with over 200,000. If you're not reading what others produce, you're unlikely to produce much yourself. You end up intellectually dependent.
That's the societal cost. But the sources use a really harsh term for the individual consequence of this neglect, don't they?
They do. Functional retardation. Fonctionnel jezikala.
That sounds deliberately shocking. What does it mean in this context?
It's meant to shock. The idea is, you might have perfectly normal biological intelligence, but if you don't use it, if you don't feed it with knowledge, if you don't engage in critical thinking, you are functionally disabled.
Like having a healthy muscle but never using it, so it atrophies.
Exactly like that. An intellectually capable person who refuses to read, think, question. They become psychologically ill-equipped for life's complexities.
What does that look like? What are the symptoms of this functional disability?
The mind becomes rigid, inflexible. The sources use the word nasurler, like calloused thinking, hardened.
Calloused thinking.
Yeah. It leads to things like paranoia, an inability to adapt to new facts, a complete failure to use Rusht, that questioning intellect we talked about. You get stuck in old patterns, unable to learn or change.
It's a tragedy of potential wasted and maybe becoming rigid and fearful as a result.
Precisely. And to really highlight the value placed on reading historically, the sources remind us of the incredible dedication shown by past figures.
Right, people who really lived the IKRA command.
Oh, it wasn't casual. Think of Ibn Sina Avicenna, studying day and night, apparently using special drinks just to stay awake.
Or Ibn Taymiyyah, the story about tying his hair to a nail.
Yeah, so if he started to nod off while reading, the pain would jolt him awake. That's extreme dedication.
It shows knowledge wasn't a hobby. It was seen as existentially vital.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just scholars. Sultan Yavuz, Sultan Selim Khan supposedly read 8 hours a day, took 3 meal loads of books with him on military campaigns.
Reading alongside battle plans.
It shows the priority. Even relatively recently, figures like Sayyid Qutb apparently averaged 10 hours of reading a day.
These aren't just anecdotes. They set a standard. Intellectual life requires serious, consistent effort, not just dipping in and out. Okay, we've covered the command, the intellect, buckle, the brain science, the needs hierarchy, the consequences of neglect. Where do we go now? The sources seem to take an even bigger leap, right? Into the nature of reality itself.
They do. This final section is probably the most philosophical, maybe the most mind-bending. It forces us to question the very nature of perception, the very reality we think we know.
How so? What's the core idea?
It centers on the idea that everything we experience, absolutely everything, is fundamentally based on electrical signals interpreted by our brain.
Everything. Like the color red, the feeling of hardness, the sound of your voice right now.
All of it. According to this view, these are just the brain's internal translations of incoming electrical data from our senses. We're not experiencing the thing itself.
This sounds like some Western philosophers, too. The sources mention Russell.
Yes, Bertrand Russell made a similar point. He said, if you touch a table, What's really happening is an electrical interaction between electrons and protons. If your brain received those exact same electrical signals without the table being there,
You'd still perceive the table.
you'd still perceive the table. So
Mhm.
we're never actually in direct contact with the independent external reality, the SLU, the original. We're only ever interacting with copies, with electrical representations inside our own heads.
We're living in a simulation generated by our own brain, essentially.
That's one way to put it, an internal simulation of a presumed external world.
But wait, if it's all just electrical signals in the brain,
Yeah.
and we just establish the brain is constantly decaying, losing 50,000 cells a day, how can we trust anything? How can we have any reliable connection to truth?
That's the critical question that pushes the argument one step further. Because the brain itself is made of matter, right? Molecules, atoms, which are also ultimately perceived as electrical signals or patterns. So the argument goes, the brain itself must also be a perception, an elga. It's part of the simulation, not the ultimate observer running the simulation.
The brain is perceiving, but the brain is also being perceived.
Exactly. This is where the dream analogy comes in strongly.
How does that work?
Think about a vivid dream. In the dream, you have a body. You might even imagine your brain inside your dream head. It all feels real within the dream.
Okay.
But who is the real observer, the I experiencing that dream? It's not the dream body or the dream brain, because those vanish the instant you wake up. The true experiencer, the consciousness, is something beyond that temporary material dream construct.
So the implication is?
The implication is staggering. The true seer, hearer, feeler, the consciousness, reading these words right now, the you, isn't the physical brain. It's the ru, the soul, which is non-material, not made of decaying cells.
The Ru is the actual observer, using the brain like a sophisticated interface.
Something like that. The material world we perceive, then, isn't the ultimate reality. It's more like a persistent shared illusion, a kind of waking dream, constantly being generated and sustained by the absolute being, the Rab.
A testing ground experienced through a biological filter.
That's a good way to phrase it. And this connects everything back to IKRA. We're commanded to read the signs in this dream, the scripture, nature, life events, so that the true observer, the Ru, can understand the nature of this reality and guide the actions of the physical body correctly within it.
Preparing for the awakening.
Exactly. Just like we wake up from sleep, the sources say we will awaken from this worldly dream upon death into the Ibi Ilam, the eternal realm.
And there's a final command to read then, too.
Powerful bookend. At the moment of judgment, the command comes again. Read your book. Today, your own self is sufficient as a reckoner against you.
Wow. So the first IKRA tells us how to live and write our book, and the last IKRA demands we read and account for the book we wrote. What a journey. From a single command, IKRA, through brain science, psychology, philosophy, and back to the ultimate nature of reality and the soul.
It's an incredible synthesis, really, showing how interconnected everything is.
Let's bring it home for everyone listening. The core message seems to be, our intellect is our foundation. Knowledge is its fuel. And reading is the essential activity.
It's the activity that keeps the biological hardware, the brain, healthy and resilient, fighting off that functional decline, that bunama.
And at the same time, it's the activity that connects us spiritually, that allows that dialogue with the Creator through those three books, Scripture, Nature, Life.
It's far more than just, being cultured or informed. It's preventative medicine for the brain, and it's essential navigation for the soul. That first command, IKRA, wasn't casual.
No, the urgency was real, given immediately, because the stakes are, existential, both here and hereafter, according to the sources.
One of the sources described IKRA as the Yangandan Kurtarma Talimat Namesi.
The fire escape instructions.
Exactly. The instructions you get when the building's on fire. You don't debate them, you just follow them immediately because survival depends on it.
So if we ignore this first urgent command,
we're not just risking cognitive decline in this life, that tragedy of Bunama. We're essentially willingly disqualifying ourselves from understanding the very blueprint for existence.
And potentially failing that final reading at the end.
That's the implication. Failing to account for the life book we wrote, perhaps because we never learned how to properly read the instructions for writing it in the first place.
The choice seems clear, and the evidence, both ancient and modern, is compelling. It's urgent. So the final question isn't really if you should read.
No. Having heard all this, the real question is, what will you read today?